When people hear the word waste, they usually picture something extreme. An expensive impulse buy, a closet full of clothes with tags still on, throwing away food every week. But the truth is, most waste doesn't look like waste. It looks normal. It looks like the subscription you forgot to cancel, the groceries you didn't finish, the lunch delivery because you were too tired to cook, the app you bought during a productive moment and never opened again. None of these things are wrong. None of them are reckless. They're just part of daily life. And that's exactly why they go unnoticed. Because waste isn't always loud. It doesn't always scream, "bad decision." Most of the time, it slips quietly into your routine. It blends in. And when something blends in, it becomes invisible. But here's the problem. Invisible waste still drains your money, your energy, and your time. And the longer it goes unnoticed, the more it adds up. Not just financially, but mentally. You start feeling like you're always behind, like you should have more saved, like your money just disappears, and you're not sure why. It's not because you're doing everything wrong. It's because you're not seeing clearly. This video isn't about guilt. It's about spotting what you've stopped noticing and gently taking back control. In the next part, we'll look at everyday habits that quietly drain your wallet, even though they feel completely normal. Most financial drain doesn't come from big, dramatic spending. It comes from small habits that repeat quietly, over and over. Take grocery shopping, for example. You plan to cook. You buy ingredients. You feel responsible. But then life happens. You get tired, distracted, overwhelmed, and order food instead. That $40 of smart groceries turns into leftovers you toss 3 days later. Now double that over a month. That's not just waste, it's a pattern. Or think about subscriptions. You signed up for something useful, a tool, a class, a meditation app. You meant to use it. But weeks go by and it auto-renews, quietly, without fanfare. You barely notice, until months later when you realize, I paid $60 for something I forgot about. It happens in other small ways too. Ordering food, just this once, every other day. Buying books you never read. Letting gift cards expire. Grabbing extra items because they were on sale. Paying late fees because you forgot to check your statement. Individually, they don't seem like a big deal. But added up, they shape your finances far more than you realize. And here's the key. Most of these actions feel normal, even justified. That's why they're so powerful, because they slip under your radar, and what's untracked becomes unchallenged. This isn't about removing every joy from your life. It's about noticing, because when you notice, you create choice. Next, we'll talk about one of the sneakiest forms of waste, emotional spending that wears a very convincing disguise. Not all spending is about need. A lot of it is emotional. And emotional spending doesn't always look emotional. That's what makes it tricky. It wears costumes like, I've had a hard day. I deserve this. I'm tired, so I'll order something instead of cooking. It's only $10, whatever. It's on sale. I'm saving money, right? But beneath the surface, there's often something deeper. Stress, fatigue, loneliness, burnout. The need for comfort, reward, relief, even just a tiny bit of control. You're not buying the object, you're buying a feeling, and that's human. The problem isn't emotional spending itself. It's when it becomes automatic. When it turns into a reflex, you stop noticing. You scroll, tap, swipe, buy, and feel better for a minute. Then the relief fades, and the cycle repeats. Meanwhile, your account gets smaller, and you don't remember where the money went. Here's the key shift. Start asking why before you spend. Not in a judgmental way. Just pause and say, what am I hoping this will give me? Sometimes the answer will be joy, and that's fine. But sometimes the answer is escape, and that's where awareness becomes power. You don't need to shame yourself for buying the coffee, the hoodie, the app. You just need to see it for what it is. Because when spending is emotional, clarity is your antidote. Next, we'll talk about another hidden form of quiet waste, when convenience slowly becomes your most expensive habit. Convenience is one of the best inventions of modern life, but it also might be one of your most expensive habits without you even realizing it. Let's take food delivery. You're tired, you had a long day, you're not cooking, so you open an app, tap a few times, dinner's on the way. It feels like a small luxury, $12, maybe $15, but when you add tax, delivery fee, tip, and maybe a minimum order increase, that $12 dinner just became $28. Do that 3 times a week, and suddenly you've spent $300 a month on convenience meals. Meals you could have made at home for a third of the price. It's not just food. Ride shares instead of walking or using public transport. Buying things online to avoid going to the store. Getting just-in-case items delivered overnight. Paying for premium features you barely use. None of these things are bad in isolation, but when convenience becomes the default, it stops being a helpful option and starts becoming a quiet leak. Convenience isn't wasteful until it's automatic, until you stop deciding and just react. And that's where the cost creeps in, because your spending is no longer based on what's useful, it's based on what's easy. And ease without awareness is how small costs balloon into big ones. So ask yourself, is this saving me real time or just mental effort? Am I choosing this or just avoiding something else? Is the cost worth the comfort this time? You don't have to give up convenience, but if you want control, you need to reclaim the choice. Next, we'll talk about how to shift away from guilt and into visibility, because noticing is more useful than judging. Here's what most people try when they feel like they're wasting money. They tighten up. They go into guilt mode. I need to stop spending so much. I should feel bad about that. I'm just bad with money. But guilt doesn't create clarity. It creates shutdown. You don't need more pressure. You need more perspective. Because the goal isn't to judge every expense. It's to understand it. You can't fix what you can't see. And the longer you avoid looking, the more power those small, repeated habits hold over you. Let's be real. Most people have no idea how much they spend on delivery, coffee, streaming, impulse buys. Just this once expenses. They only feel the effect, the low balance, the stress, the confusion. And from that fog, it's easy to think you're just not good with money. But that's not true. You're probably not wasteful. You're just unaware. And awareness doesn't mean spreadsheets and color-coded budgets. It can be as simple as writing down everything you spend for 3 days. Just noticing, without changing anything yet. Because awareness creates options. You go from I feel broke to now I understand why. And understanding leads to real, sustainable decisions, not shame-driven restrictions. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being awake. In the next chapter, we'll go practical and walk through a simple, gentle way to track waste without turning your life into a financial boot camp. So now you're aware. But what do you actually do? Here's a simple, low-stress method to spot your hidden waste without guilt, spreadsheets, or overwhelm. Step 1. Track for 3 days, not a month. Just 3 ordinary days. Write down everything you spend. Doesn't matter how small. Coffee, snacks, parking, apps, tips, all of it. No edits, no filters, just facts. Use your phone notes, a notebook, or a voice memo, whatever works. Step 2. Add 1 simple tag for each expense. Ask, could I have skipped this without suffering? If yes, add a next to it. That's it. You're not deleting anything. You're not fixing anything. You're just observing. That means this might be part of the quiet leak. After 3 days, look back. Notice how many stars show up. You'll likely be surprised, not by how much you spent, but by how automatic it was. That's the point of this audit. To gently reveal patterns you've stopped noticing. You're not trying to punish yourself. You're trying to understand yourself, to see where money is escaping, not because you're reckless, but because you weren't fully present. Step 3. Pick one shift. Don't overhaul everything. Just choose one pattern you want to change. Maybe it's ordering in twice instead of 4 times. Maybe it's canceling one forgotten subscription. Maybe it's simply creating a pause and think moment before every purchase. You're not here to restrict. You're here to realign, because most waste isn't about greed or laziness, it's about drift. And drift ends the moment you start paying attention. In the final chapter, we'll talk about why awareness, not control, is the most powerful financial habit you can build. If you've made it this far, you already did the most important thing. You stopped ignoring. Because waste doesn't begin with spending, it begins with not seeing. And that means the opposite of waste isn't control. It's awareness. Awareness is what turns unconscious habits into conscious choices. It doesn't force you to restrict. It invites you to realign. When you're aware, you don't have to cut everything. You just start choosing better, more intentionally, more calmly. And that creates space. Space to say, I don't need this today. I'd rather save for something bigger. This used to be useful. Now it's just noise. Awareness builds self-trust. And self-trust is more powerful than any budgeting app. Because once you start seeing where your money goes, you stop asking, what's wrong with me, and start asking, what would feel better next time? You don't need to feel guilty about every coffee or delivery order. You don't need to justify your small joys. You just need to know what's really happening and why. That knowledge is yours now. You've seen the patterns. You've asked the hard questions. You've been honest. And from that honesty, you can move forward, one choice at a time. Thanks for watching. If this helped, share what you noticed, or even just track your spending for 3 days, not to fix anything, just to see. Because once you see it, you can shape it. And that's the beginning of real freedom. If this video made something click for you, consider subscribing. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one, and leave a comment, even just a thanks or your own story. I read everything.